Hey everyone, Baldoric here. Today we're going to be talking about Matthew and how I would build him for Aether raids exclusively. I'm going to be showing the light season variation of him, which is going to include one ear, one peony into his stats. So we're going to factor those stats in. Because I use him for Aether raid light season, and he is the first hero that actually got me to rank 27. So, what I want to showcase is the build that I am currently using for him. Which is a pretty high, well, not high invest, but it's an invested build. You're going to need at least close counter. And talk about what I do to really get him going and like what buffs him and makes him as good as I think he is. First off, let's talk about his dagger. His dagger does, after combat, if unit attacked, grant defense resistance +6 to unit and allies within 2 spaces of the unit for 1 turn. He also applies Dagger 6, which means a Dagger 6 after combat inflicts defense resistance -6 to the target and foes within 2 spaces of the target through their next action, and he has bonuses granted to his attack equal to the penalties of the foe during combat. Basically, the more you debuff your opponent, the higher his attack stat gets. So, paired with the right unit, he can have a massive attack stat just for debuffing, or even with Panic Mana or something like that. You can do so much to debuff your opponents, even his own dagger, and the more debuffs they have, the stronger he gets. So, that being said, let's look at the first and probably the only way to run him effectively, but let's take a look. This is what I am currently using in Aether raids for Matthew. So we got, first of all, the summoner support, and we have the ally support, which is with Sylvia. I'll talk about why Sylvia in a minute. So Spy's Dagger, obviously, reposition just for the movement assist. It definitely helps to have reposition on him. I've used it more times than, honestly, I can say. Miracle. So Miracle, the biggest thing that helps Miracle work on my Matthew is Sylvia, because Sylvia runs Infantry Pulse, which changes it from a 5 use down to a 4 use, which actually becomes surprisingly consistent. So my Sylvia, now let's actually preface this. To make it work, you have to make sure that your Sylvia's HP is higher than Matthew's. So my Sylvia's A slot is HP +5, and her S slot is HP +5 as well, or it might actually be HP and speed. Either way, I buff her HP enough just to be above the 62 mark. So she's currently at 64. Now, issues Matthew is going to run into is with the new Panic Mana that is out, which is now Panic Mana 6, he does not pass that threshold. So he's at 62 and you need to be at 65. So to really be super effective with him, you're going to have to snipe that Panic Mana if people have it. Which I've actually, in a lot of my games, I still haven't seen a ton of people with it. It is rather expensive, and people that have been just dumping their points into other things don't have it. But you're definitely going to encounter it at some point. Just make sure you snipe it. But anyone who still has the tier 5 or lower variant of it, he's going to pass any of those Panic Mana checks. He's got a really good HP stat. Sylvia will pass the Panic Mana, the Panic Mana check if you plus her either once or twice, I'm not sure, and you give her if you have her with a HP positive IV, that's what I meant to say, she'll also do a lot better that way. And you need to have her weapon refine as well, because that gives the HP bonus. Now, Miracle basically will make it so that he will survive. He has to be injured for Vanish to work. So every now and then he's going to take like chip damage. He will get hit. If, for example, the first attack that comes in on you you're not in advantage range, so he gets hit, he has to be able to survive that, which bulk-wise he's not bad. 38 defense, 31 resistance is nothing to scoff at with 62 HP. That's the kicker. He's got enough HP to survive a lot of these things, and depending on who his allies are for buffs, whatever debuffs you're throwing on the opponent, he can pretty much tank anything. Miracle adds a layer of survivability that he really should have. Honestly, I can't even tell you how many games I've won just because I've had Miracle at the 4 charge instead of the 5. It is really, really useful. Close counter, advantage. We all know what that does at this point. Pretty much it's just going to make it so that he can go in and sweep a team if you do it correctly. Savage Blow is just to make it easier for that to happen. And the Brazen Attack res is actually an important one. That's going to bring his res up to 38 and his base attack up to 58. Which is nice because he's about to get a big boost to attack anyways. So it just adds a little bit of survivability and a little bit more damage. People I would partner him with besides Sylvia if you have the available space, or if the Bona unit is like Ear or Peony. So I have one of two partners that I use with Matthew, depending on what my opponent has. I either use Sylvia, or I use a Versa. And you could flip-flop a Versa with Virion with HP Refine if you're using Virion, because Virion kind of does the same thing. But essentially, the reason I use those two is because if their Weapon Refine or their weapon will inflict debuffs on the opponent based on certain checks. Okay, with Virion, it's his HP, and a Versa, I think it's her HP as well. So basically, it's adding a panic effect, and all you have to do is have them there, and and the opponent needs to be next to an opponent. Which for most Aether Raid defense teams, that's how their defense lineup's going to look. So you want to do something like a Versa with like Shove, and then either attack Res Link, or whatever you think is efficient with that. I do use attack Res Link, or you could use Smite, doesn't matter, whatever you want to do. I only use Shove if she's the support partner, so it depends on what I want to do. Now, if you use Sylvia, the advantage is that my Sylvia has Wings of Mercy, and so does my Peony. So basically, as soon as he's in vantage range, the opponent comes in, they do their stuff, he survives, I go, hit the opponent, dance, hit the opponent, dance, hit the opponent, win, at that point, most likely. Or they have the two dancers that can go and, like, clean up the, the fountains, and then finish off the enemies with this Matthew. So, extremely powerful build. Honestly, it's the most consistent unit I have, and I think that with the right partners, he becomes even more powerful. You just have to make sure that all of your teammates have something for buffs, or something to, like, make sure that he gets a little bit of extra stats, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to win your matchups because of that amazing weapon refine. It really does do a lot. Now, not everyone is close counter, or not everyone wants to, like, highly invest in Matthew. Maybe you want to use him for flavor. Maybe you want to use him on your defense team because that dagger is still really good, but you don't want to do something like the close counter Vantage, or maybe you want to do Vantage. The way I saw him working was something like this. So this is a kind of cheaper way to build this. It's still effective, and it does work really good. Now, this is the budget build that I have for him. So there's other ways you can build this that are a lot more efficient if you use things like Special Spiral. You could use Desperation instead. I only used Vantage in this slot because my assumption is on enemy phase. They have probably done something where if you have him in the back line, like there's Savage Blows or things like that coming out, so the Vantage actually works pretty good. But I still give him the Brazen Attack res. There's still plenty of times where he's going to need that, and honestly, his defense is okay. So I think giving him that Brazen Attack res is going to give him that survivability that he probably needs. Again, it brings him up to res, in this case, 39, which is pretty solid. Fury 3, 1, additional stats, which he desperately needs, and 2, keeps him into, or gets him into that Vantage range, which can be really useful. Now, I put Glimmer on this one instead of Miracle. This is not necessary. I think it works if you're not running an Infantry Pulse team. If you are running an Infantry Pulse team, I would recommend using either Miracle or something to that effect to make sure that he gets big damage. Maybe even something like, like a healing move like Luna or Aether if you have like a crazy Infantry Pulse team, okay? So, lots of great ways to keep him like efficient, keep him up, get some kills, and he honestly can still do some work this way. I still recommend using the other build over this one, but it's a budget way to build him. If you want to do it for flavor, there's other things you can do like Death Blow, Desperation, Attack Smoke, and Brazen something. And something like this would look pretty good. Mostly a flavor build, not necessarily as good as the first one. The first one's really the way to run Matthew, but if you're looking for a budget and or just fun way to play him, this could be a nice way to do it. So, that being said, that pretty much concludes my Matthew video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please throw me a like. If you want to see more content like this, a subscribe would always be appreciated. I'm going to be covering more units in the future. I'm going to be doing some more videos, not just on Fire Emblem, but maybe something else, which hopefully I'll have a video out soon talking about that. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, I hope I see you next time.